In our previous class, we have seen the advantages and disadvantages of oral communication. So we will continue today and we'll see the advantages and disadvantages of written communication. Written communication is different than oral communications. Written communication is used in business organizations or any established institutions. Now we will see why. Any organization or any institution has to use this form of communications. For any organization which exists, it has to maintain some records, it has to maintain some documents in a form of an evidence for the existence of the organizations. The the employees of the organization has to be paid. Now their salaries and etc has to be maintained. They have to maintain a record. Now some forms of written communications are letters, notices, circulars, orders, handbooks, reports, enquiries, quotations, etc. So you might be knowing all of these forms of written communications, and probably you might have been using these forms of written communications as well. So now let us see some of the characteristics of written communication. Now the first main important characteristics of written communication is that it is the most formal type of communication. When you are orally speaking to somebody, you are speaking in an informal sense, you are speaking casually. But when you are using the written form of communication to tell something to anybody, you are using a formal method. It is not in a casual or friendly manner, but you are using it in a formal manner. So the second characteristics of written communication is that it is mainly used for documentation. Now what is documentation? Documentation is nothing but to keep records, to keep evidences. Now if there is a company and they have decided to change their policy, to change their way of doing work. Now they cannot simply shift and directly change the policy. They have to write what all the things which they are going to change in their new policy, and then they have to circulate it inside their company to all their employees and employers. Now that is the usual way how it is done, and there has to be some kind of record or evidence. So that is documentation. Now, if you are going to take a leave, you will write a leave letter. Now, you cannot directly apply for a leave without talking to your immediate superior. You have to take permission, and this type of permission is not generally done orally. You cannot phone your boss and say that I am taking a leave. That will be an informal type. So, for formal, if you are working in an organization, you have to perform the things formally. So what you will do, you will write a leave letter and submit it to your boss, and the leave letter gets approved and your leave is sanctioned. So that is the process of documentation. The written communication is used for circulation of information. As I've said earlier, if there is something which is going to change, and it may be anything, it may be change in the policies, any reforms, or any scheme which everybody needs to know. So how this generally takes place, the company or the organization uh, gives a circular, it gives a notice, and it sends to every employee working in the organizations. So it passes the notification. Now, if the government also wants to declare some jobs, or uh, it wants to it wants to declare some notification. Now what it does, it advertises in the newspaper. So what it is doing, it is circulating information. Now how this is done, it is done via written communication only. So written communication comes in handy to circulate information which is vital and which is useful to majority of majority of the people. If this type of circulation is performed orally, there might be a chance of misrepresentation and misinformation. If there is a written type of thing which is circulated to everybody, so there is a minimal chance of misrepresentation of information. So, coming to the next characteristic of written communication, it is quite difficult compared to oral communication. Now, why it is difficult is because if we want to say something, we might say it orally, but if you want to write something, it becomes difficult. Now, you have to be aware of the grammatical rules which you have to look into while writing something, and if there is some grammatical error while you write your reports, or when you write anything, now it will create a kind of bad impression on those whoever who is seeing your report. It will be There will be a chance of misrepresentation, and there will be a chance of uh, bad impression which is created because of the small grammatical rules. So That is the reason why the written form of communication at some times becomes difficult. In written form of communication, the presence of the sender and receiver is not mandatory. So, in written form of communication, there is no mandatory rule that we have to have a sender and a receiver present at the same time. I can write something and circulate it to somebody, and he may view that thing which I have sent on a later date. That is a feature or that is a characteristic of the written communication. And if I have something uh, the next is the time factor. Whenever I want to say something more, whenever I intend to spread the information which I know to a vast majority of the people, it may be not possible to orally communicate it with somebody. And in that case, what I will do, I will write my ideas down in a book and will spread that book or share that book to as many people as possible, or to the people whom it is necessary for them to view. So this can be achieved with a with the time factor. So basically, it may take time for me to write a book. So it may take 2 or 3 months, but the ideas which I have expressed inside the book can be read by someone else at their own time or at their own convenience. So that is uh, characteristic of written communication, which is not present in oral communication, or it is not possible in oral communication. And if I have to discuss the same ideas and principles which I have written inside the books, it will take more than 8 hours or 10 hours or 15 hours, and it is not possible for the receiver who is listening to my ideas to understand them properly. Now, the attention span of an individual deteriorates after 2 or 3 hours. They are no longer attentive to the information which is being given to them after 2 or 3 hours. And what happens after 2 or 3 hours? They tend to misunderstand or not comprehend what the speaker is saying. So, in written type of communication, if I have something to tell and I have written down the same thing, the receiver can read the ideas or the information at his own convenience, at his or her own convenience. So, it is a most important feature of written communication. So, these are some of the characteristics or features of written communication. Let us now see some advantages of written communication. In written form of communication, we have a ready reference. We have a ready reference of all the documents. If if I need to view the attendance record of any student, I will have a ready reference of the attendance sheet with me. I can say how many students have attended a particular lecture by seeing the attendance sheet. So that is an example of the advantage of written communication. Now, in any organization, they will keep the evidences with them so that they can refer to that evidence in the later span of time. Legal evidence. In courts, or the way the jurisdiction works, or the Supreme Court, or as a matter of fact any court, they need to have certain kind of legal evidence. Now, if a crime is committed, and the defense lawyer, and the lawyer of the victim, or the any lawyer, they will have some kind of evidence with them. No, they cannot just orally say that this and this thing happened on this and this particular time. They need to be an evidence. So how can that evidence be safeguarded? It is via written form. If there is a written form, if there is an evidence in written form that so and so person was in so and so place at so and so time, it will form a legal evidence. And if it is signed by an authority, then it will have a legal evidence or legal proof that somebody has been there at some place at some particular point of time. So these are some example of legal evidence where written communication is used. By written communication, we can clearly set the guidelines for any organization or institutions. Now these guidelines provide a type of rules for how the organization will perform, is going to perform. If certain organizations have certain set guidelines, every employee working in that organization will have to follow that particular guidelines, and it is responsible for the effective functioning of the organization. That is how the organization or institution performs efficiently. Now the fourth advantage is the mass access. As I've said earlier, I want to share some information to you. Now what I will do is, if I have to conduct a test, if I have to conduct some examination, so what I'll do, I will message you on WhatsApp. So it is also a type of written communication. I will say that on so and so date and at so and so time, you will be having an examination, and you will have to attend the examination. So I cannot do it orally. There are 60 students in a batch, and it will be a time consuming factor if I have to individually say to each and every person. It is not efficient. So what I'll do, I will just simply put in one message and share that message in a group in WhatsApp, or I will mail you, so that each and every of the students will get the information about the examination, and they can respond to it as well. So that is one advantages of written communication. uh, the next major advantage of written communication is the brand factor, branding, or image building. Now what it usually is that, if there is an organization or institution, it has a kind of a logo of its own. Now there is a separate logo for Pepsi, there is separate logo for Amazon, Flipkart. They have a certain different logo. Now this is very important for their image building. Now whenever you see the logo of Pepsi or Coca-Cola, you will immediately recognize that this belongs to the Pepsi company because of its logo. Uh, Likewise, any organization or institutions have this brand factor or brand image, which helps them uh, efficiently, which helps them to build that kind of image, so that many of the users of that product will come to know about their products or their company. It is suitable for distant communication. Now, with the rise of technology, it has become very convenient for us to transmit the information anywhere around the world with relative ease. And if we write that information down rather than present it orally over such vast distances of space and time, we will transfer the message without any errors. So, that is also another advantage of written communication. It is accurate and unambiguous. So there can be no mistake when we write the information down and send that information, because after writing the information that we want to transmit, we will cross check it many times. We will proofread the information that we are going to send, and if there are any mistakes in what we have written, we will edit that information and again send that information to whomsoever we want to send. So it is pretty much accurate and unambiguous. Ambiguous is, it is not confusing. If we speak out something, there might be a chance of misunderstanding or misinterpretation. And as I have said, that oral communication is, it is not permanent. It is, once you say something, then it is lost. uh, you may not be available to repeat that thing again if the other person or the receiver is having any doubts about the things which you have spoken. Whereas in written communication, when you write something, uh, if the person who is reading what you have written does not understand what you have written, he will again read the information twice and he will understand it then. So that is unambiguous. Written form of communication is permanent in nature. The spoken word can transpire soon or it can cease to exist, but when something is written, we have enough proof or documentation of its existence. So it is permanent. It cannot be, unless it is physically damaged, like if there is a fire in an office, the written documents and the evidences may be lost. But if we exclude the physical damage to the documents, the written form of communication is permanent in nature. So these are some of the major advantages of written communication. Now we will see the disadvantages of written communication. One of the most important disadvantages of the written communication is that it is only accessible for the literates. Now, what does it mean? It simply means that in order for the receiver to understand what you have written, it is a prerequisite that he also knows the language. He also knows to read and understand the language. But whereas orally speaking, uh, it is possible that he understands the language, uh, although he may not know to write it or read it. He may understand it orally, and it may be possible that he does not know how to read and write. So it becomes a disadvantage there. And the second disadvantage is that it is very much time consuming. Now, when you want to spread some information, uh, it is it is necessary that you have to think that information and organize that information and write the information down, and you also have to check the grammatical errors in that thing which you have written. You have to proofread it again and again, so that there is no mistakes or there is no scope of misunderstanding by the receiver. So all these things are some time consuming. The next disadvantage is its lack of immediate feedback. When you are orally communicating with another person, and if he is having any doubt in whatever he is speaking, it is natural that he will give a feedback to you. The feedback may be in the form of doubt. He probably does not understand something which you have spoken, and he will clarify it then and there. But in a written form of communication, it generally so happens that the receiver is not directly in contact with the sender, and that is the reason why there is a lack of immediate feedback from the receiver. So these are some of the major disadvantages of written communication. Let us now discuss about non-verbal communication. Non-verbal communication is defined as the process of sending and receiving wordless meaning or wordless messages. So, non-verbal communication is defined as sending and receiving wordless messages. Now, in this type of communication, we don't use any words. Now, without using words, how can you communicate? This is the basic question or doubt anybody must have. Now, the communication is done via gestures, body language, facial expression, etc. By using these things, we non verbally communicate. And we also communicate via our dress, emotions, etc., which show on our face. Now, non-verbal communication can also take place via our sensory channel, that is sight, sound, smell, touch, or taste. It is through our senses also we try to understand or tend to communicate sensory. We try to communicate using sensory perceptions. Now, in non-verbal communication, there are two types. The first is visually, and the second auditory, that is sound. These are the main things through which we non-verbally communicate. Non-verbal type of communication is also seen in many animals. If I give you an example of a dog, if a dog is wagging its tail, what it indicates? It simply indicates that the dog is happy. When a dog's ears are bending backwards and its tail is also dropping down, it generally indicates that the dog is fearful of something or there is something wrong happening to it. These are all the visual signs that we see in a dog to kind of knowing how the dog feels or the current state of the dog, whether it is happy or whether it is sad. In visual method, we can understand things just by looking at it. For example, signs, pictures, colors, etc. Just by looking at it, we tend to know about the nature of that thing. Let me give an example. If you see a red color, it generally indicates that there is danger ahead. If you see a red signal, a red sign at a signal, then you have to stop. The color red is generally associated with something dangerous. And similarly, if you see a sign of no parking in a particular place, you will immediately understand that you should not park your vehicle at that particular spot. Now, for saying no parking, you can always, or there is an option of writing in a written form individual letters, that is no parking. What is the need of that sign? What is the need of that symbol? The importance of that symbol or sign is it is communicating to us non-verbally, and within an instant we understand what is the message behind that sign. So, non-verbal communication plays a very important role in quickly understanding stuff. In a scientific research, it was found out that humans communicate more non-verbally than they communicate orally. So the facial expressions, the gestures, and the body language they use, they constitute majority of the communication with other human beings. So non-verbal communication has an instant effect. It has an instant effect because it can be perceived by the receiver instantaneously. Like the example which I have given, when we look at any sign, we instantly understand the message behind that sign. Non-verbal communication are less time consuming. They are less time consuming, they are easily understandable. They can present data in a compact form. Like if you consider the example of graphs, maps, etc., figures, maps, graphs, if they are written in a Excel format, or there is a barcode graph of the rise of sales in a particular organization, now it quickly gives you the idea of the sales of the particular product in a particular company or in a particular organization. Now within an instant you will understand how the product is doing. Is the product selling good, or is the product selling bad? Now this type of data becomes critical, very important when it comes to presenting facts and figures. So while presenting facts and figures, the non-verbal mode of communication has better mode of understanding than the other parts of communication. Much data can be compressed into a single page with non-verbal communication. So this form of communication is more effective in presenting figures and data in the form of graphs. So Coming to the auditory part of non-verbal communication, see there are different sounds like siren. If you hear a siren, you will understand quickly that there is something going to happen. Like if there is an ambulance coming, you will quickly know that there is an emergency and you have to give the way for the ambulance. Even if the ambulance is 200 or 300 meters apart, because of the siren, you will realize that there is an ambulance coming towards you and you have to make way for the ambulance. So that is the emergency. So there are many types of sirens or alarms. There is a fire alarm which strikes when there is a fire and you have to evacuate the building. So it becomes very crucial that within a short moment of time you will get the message that you have to quickly act depending upon the siren or alarm. So that is the auditory part of non-verbal communication. Now if we look at the people, or whether whether two persons are communicating with each other, there are certain important aspects which become important when they are speaking to each other. Like without speaking or without orally communicating, a person can know about the other person by the body language, by the facial expressions, by the voice modulation, and by the gestures which the person is using. Like if a person is dressed shabbily, or he is untidy, or he is not clean in the clothes that he wears, it creates a kind of bad impression on the other person. Like when you are going to an interview and you are not combed properly, or you are not dressed formally, and you are going with an outshirt and with an unpolished shoes. So these all things matter when coming to non-verbally communicating the things. So it will create a bad impression on the interviewer if your boots are not polished, if your shirt is not tucked in, if your hair is not combed properly, and you do not maintain a clean aspect or your clean personality. So that is non-verbal communication. Next, we will see what body language means. Now, while communicating, body language plays a very important role. By using body language, you are not communicating orally or verbally, you are communicating via non-verbal communication. So, we communicate we communicate non-verbally while using body language. Now, body language includes gestures, facial expression, body postures, etc. Like your style of wearing dress and your grooming. So all this come under body language. Now we will look at the individual important aspects while using body language. Now we have gestures. Now we make different kinds of gestures, like we nod our head, we shake our head from side to side if we are disagreeing to something. If we want to approve something, we will nod our head. So this is gestures. Now these gestures also include enthusiasm and emotions. How I will say? See, when you are in an interview and you are sitting in front of an interview panel and you look very dull, you look very sad. Now it will create a very bad impression on your part to have a sad and gloomy expression on your face. The next we have facial expression. Now, how do you facially express the emotions? Now we have eyebrows, we have cheeks, we have different kinds of facial organs which can be used to express your feelings or emotions. Now, when you are in an interview and when you are in front of the interview committee, you need to have an happy expression, a cheerful expression. Now, what happens is that even if you do not know the answers of the questions which are asked to you, and you maintain a good facial expression, the message that will reach the interviewers is that you are optimistic. You will handle difficult situations. And even if you do not know the answers to the questions which are being asked, there is a probability of you getting selected. But on the other hand, even if you know the answers of all the questions which are asked to you, but you maintain a sad expression on your face and you appear very dull. Now, this will create a kind of bad, it will create a bad vibes on your part. So, this becomes a very crucial thing while using the body language to communicate. Now, one more thing I would like to say in facial expressions is that you need to maintain the eye contact. Now, this is very important. You can experiment it with your own family members, that ask your family members or your relatives to interview you. you sit in front of them and ask them to ask you questions. And in this activity, you will find that when whenever somebody is asking you a question, whenever somebody from the group of the interview panel who is asking the question, you will try to answer it only to him. But the proper format of answering the question is that you need to look into each every every person who is taking the interview. You have to maintain eye contact with each and every person who is taking the interview. Now this is a very important skill to have. You cannot simply give the answer to the person who has asked the question. Now even if you are giving a presentation to a group of people, whenever you are giving a presentation to a group of people, what you must do is to maintain proper eye contact with each and every person who is listening to your presentation. So it is a very difficult skill to acquire at first, but if you practice it one or two times, it will become natural. It should not happen that when you are giving a presentation, you are looking only at one person. So the next most important thing is the body posture. See, we tend to sit in a very drooping manner whenever we are sitting in the class, whenever we are sitting in a meeting, or whenever we are sitting in an interview. We generally droop forward while we are sitting. Now this happens because of lack of exercise, because of sedentary lifestyle, and because of food habits, and mainly largely because of lack of exercise. Now you can do a simple activity where you can find out what are your weak muscles. Now in this activity, you stand up and try to touch your toes or feet with your hands without bending your knees. Now most of you probably might not touch your hands or touch your toes without bending your knee. So what does it indicate? It indicates that your hamstring muscles, which are your leg muscles, and your lower back muscles, which support the spinal cord, are weak. You need to work upon those muscles to improve them, to strengthen them. So what you can do is you have to daily stretch your muscles, and it should not be that you stretch them entirely on the first day itself. You will hurt yourself in that process. Stretching is a gradual activity, and it will become better by daily practice. So you can improve your body posture by regular exercise and stretching. And after you have strengthened your hamstrings and lower back muscles, you will find that sitting with a good posture is no longer a difficult task. You can easily sit how you can easily sit for even extended duration of time, without drooping forward. So that is the importance of body posture. Now if you are drooping, if you are sitting in a very uncomfortable manner while you are taking an interview, it will also create a very bad impression on the interview. So the next thing is dress and attire. Dress or attire or appearance. Now you need to dress properly. Your dress says more about you than your words. This is a very small aspect which majority of the students ignore. They think that it is not the it is not to be considered important. So it is not like that. The dressing attire which you wear will determine your personality, will determine your discipline and your dedication, etc. See, there are different dressing attires for boys and for girls, and you can. There are many videos on YouTube where you can find how to dress properly for an interview, whether it is a boy or a girl. What are the things that boys must do when going to an interview, and what are the things that girls must do, and how should they dress them, how should they groom themselves, how should they appear neat and clean. See, see, that is one thing. And you can there are many videos available which say about the dress and attire, how to properly dress and go for the interview. It does not even apply for just interview purposes. Even if you are working in an organization, you simply cannot dress whatever you like and go to the organization or institution or company wherever you work. There is a proper set of rules, and those rules or guidelines must be followed uh, by every person who is working in that company or organization. And the last but not least is silence. Now, this does not mean saying not anything. The silence here is meant that whenever you are communicating with somebody, you must not interrupt any person who is speaking. Like we tend to have a bad habit of directly interrupting and saying your own words in between the sentence which the other person is speaking. This applies to every form of communication which you are going to carry in the future. Now you need to know when to stop. Let the other person complete his sentences. Let the other person express what he wanted, what he wants to say, and only then, after he stops, you need to speak. Now, this is what is called silence. You must know when to stop and when to speak. Now, it should not be that you must be silent even after the other person has completed what he want to say. Now, it is also not. It should not be done. So, knowing when to knowing when to remain silent and when to talk is also a very good habit in body language. So these are some of the important things we must uh, take into consideration while being aware of our body language.